Hello everyone, this is Awab Akib and today we're going to solve the computer science pre-release material for May-June 2021 paper 22. The pre-release material this time revolves around a train that makes journey uphill and downhill, and we have to create a booking or ticketing system for it. And I've created a summary of the whole thing, so let's go ahead and look at it. So the train actually has 6 coaches and it goes up and then also down, and we have a total of 4 trains. Okay, so 4 trains, and then they have some specific timings that they leave at and then they return at. So the going hours are 9, 11, 13 and 15, and similarly the returning hours are 10th, 12, 14 and 16. Okay, so this is the 24-hour time format. Alright, now each journey has a total of 80 multiplied by 6 passengers. Okay, so that is a total of 480, and the last returning coach from the top of the mountain would have extra 2 coaches, so that would mean 480 plus 80 plus 80. Okay, and the ticket for one side uphill or downhill is actually $25, but the catch is that you have to buy the tickets for the whole journey. So you have to buy the tickets for the uphill and the downhill journey at the same point. Okay, at the point of sale terminal, wherever you're getting the ticket from. So if a single person is traveling, he or she has to pay a total of $50 for the whole thing. Now there is another feature that we need to add, that is of discount, and as written here, the cost is 25, and every 10th person would get to have a free journey, but only if the group is more than or at least 10 people. So if we look at it, the total range for discount is 10 to 80, and we are also assuming that we cannot have more than 80 people in one booking. Okay, so let's say if you have 35 people booking for a train, then that would mean that the 10th person, the 20th person and then the 30th person would get a discount, and discount would be given in form of a fee waiver. Okay, so you will not be charging them anything. So for the discount, you'll actually be subtracting $50 for every 10th person, right? For like if you have 50, then 10th, 20th, 30th, 40th and 50th person. So you'll be subtracting $50 from the whole fee for each of them from the total passenger count. And lastly, you can only return from the succeeding train. So let's say if you actually went uphill through the train that left at 13th hour, you can only return at the 14th or the 16th hour train. That's obvious because we cannot reverse time since we are not Doctor Strange, sadly. And one more thing, you need to understand the code, no cramming. This is extremely important. I get a lot of questions related to this, that sir, can cram the code? That is not possible at all. Okay, you cannot learn someone's code without understanding it, and frankly it is no use if you try to learn the code and reproduce it in the exam. So please understand the code. It's pretty simple. I've attached 2 links. The one link is actually a playlist for learning the pseudocode, and the second playlist is learning Python. Okay, they are both very simple and they are very well made, and they're not by me. Furthermore, since this is Python code and not pseudocode, you have to convert this into pseudocode on your own. This is a small resource that I've made called Python versus pseudocode cheat sheet. So please go through this. The code is very simple already. I've literally written it in a way that you can just make minor changes and convert it into pseudocode. So that has to be done. Okay. Alright, moving on. So let's jump ahead to task 1. The task 1 says that you need to have a screen display, and then you need to have suitable data structures, and you need to show money, train timing and the total tickets bought or sold at the moment. Okay, so there are 4 journeys up and 4 journeys down. So we'll have a total of 10 entries in our screen, right? So in your screen you have to show the time and you have to show the tickets that are available. And if we look at the data structure that they've talked about, it's always going to be an array in this case, because we have to save multiple values of the same type. So you'll have 4 ticket records, okay, for going and for returning. So this is a twofold problem. So for going uphill, you have 4 ticket records, like how many tickets have been sold. then you have 4 timestamps. Okay, by 4 timestamps I mean 10th hour, 14th hour, 16th hour, 11th hour, whatever. I've written them below as well. And then 4 billing records. So you need to keep track of the total money earned during each trip by the train. Okay, so it's mentioned here as well. Each train journey must be totaled separately. So you'll have 4 journeys for going and 4 journeys for returning, and you need to keep track of all of them. Now we have, okay, so this is just the example. The going train, it has 3 features, right? The time, the tickets it has, and the money it has made. And similarly for returning, it will have the time, the tickets, and the money. So you need 3 arrays for the going part, or the the uphill part, and 3 arrays for the downhill part or the returning part. I'll be referring them to as going and returning. So we'll have 3 arrays. This would be our time array, this would be our tickets array, and this would be our money earned array. Similarly, time array or the R array, and this would be your tickets array, and this would be your money array. Okay, and in first task we just have to initialize them, and then you have to just print them on the screen, and that is exactly what I've done in the task 1. So I've given the links to the pseudocode logic building playlist as well, and the Python programming. Please do use these, and the Python cheat sheet link is given in the description also in this drive link. So if you look at it, I just put in the information that is written in the pre-release material. So you see the train leaves at 9, 10, 13, sorry 9, 11, 13 and 15. So we have one array of leaving time, then we have one array for all the available tickets, and then we have one array for all the money earned. So if you look at this, when we have multiple arrays, we kind of connect them through indices. Okay, so at 0th index of going time we have the 9th hour, then that would imply that at 0th index we have the total ticket count of that 9th hour train. And similarly we'll have the total money earned from the 9th hour train in the 0th index of GN money array. You can name the arrays anything you want, but they should be self-explanatory, because that is very important. And similarly I repeated the same thing for returning times, 10, 12, 14 and 16th hour, the relevant tickets. Now see it says in the pre-release material that the last train from the top has 2 extra coaches, so you had to add 80 plus 80 to 480. Okay, that makes it 640. So the last one actually has more count, and then you have to print it on the screen. I just literally printed it here. The /t is basically a tab, it adds space. You can do this by spacing as well, you don't need to put /t, so you can use manual spaces as well, it's up to you. And then I put a for loop that will run for 0, 1, 2 and 3. Okay, so it will print 0, 1, 2, 3, all of these indices from all of these arrays. So first the going time, then ticket count, then returning time, then returning ticket count. Okay, so let me open command prompt. Oops. Alright, see, it prints. So you have the departing, then R, and then the total tickets available, then the arriving, and then the total tickets available. Alright, so this was task 1. Going on to task 2. Now here we actually have to create the mechanism for purchasing the ticket for a passenger or as a group, and then you have to give the relevant discount, update the relevant arrays, and then you also have to print multiple information on the screen. So let's go and look at its notes. So for task 2, this would be the whole flow of the program. You first of all select the departing time. From these departing times you have 9, 11, 13 and 15 available, and then you have to select the arriving time, which must not be before or equal to the departing. So the train is always will always select the time after that. Okay, and I'll show you how to do that in the code. And then you have to select a passenger count between 1 to 80. So we'll put checks for that, and you must check the availability. Like, let's say if the total tickets available for the train at 9th hour are like 30, then obviously you cannot put 50 in that. So you need to keep track of this thing as well. Okay, so let's say If the train has maybe 30 seats available for the 9th hour, then obviously you cannot put 50 for that. We need to put proper checks in this case. Okay. Alright. Then once the passenger count has been selected or the ticket count has been selected, you need to calculate the discount. So the simple algorithm for this would be to divide the count by 10. So let's say if the user says I want to buy tickets for 45 people, okay, 45 people, then you just divide 45 by 10 and we'll do an integer division. Okay, we do not want a decimal number here, so this will return you 4. Okay, and that would mean that you have to give discount of 4 people. So you'll subtract the price of 4 tickets from the whole journey. Okay, and this is the formula for that. So you'll have 25, this is the ticket price for one side, okay, into the remaining number of tickets. So since 4 people would be going free, the total count that you'll be charging would be 40, right? Out of 45, 4 are going free, so sorry, you'll charge for 41 people, and then you have to multiply it by 2. Why? Because $25 is the price of journey on one side, and I told you before that the journey has to be made on both sides. Like you need to buy the tickets for the uphill and the downhill journey. So we multiplied by 2. And once you have found the discounted price, you need to subtract the tickets count and you have to update the relevant arrays like total money earned and the tickets available. Okay, so this is your task 2. Alright, so let's look at the task 2 code. Okay, from part 1 you can see, from task 1 you can see we did not have any while loop here, so we'll be working with the while loop now. Why? Because if you look at the code that needs to be written, you have to purchase multiple tickets. Okay, so you need to keep asking the user that if he or she wants to buy more tickets. Alright, so we need to put this whole thing inside a loop, so we keep on repeating it. Why? Because if you look at the pre-release material, you have to keep on purchasing tickets, okay, over and over again. So you need to give the user an option if he or she wants to buy additional tickets or not. Fine. So that is why I put the whole thing inside a while loop, and I put a check that while working is not equal to 0. Initially working is equal to 1, so this loop works. And then at the end of the loop, I ask the user again that if they want to call it a day and see the statistics or not. So if the user enters 0 or anything other than 1, this while loop will stop working, because we'll come back to the start of the while loop after every iteration. Okay, and then it will just print the statistics. Okay, now what is going on inside this? First of all, you need to enter the departing hour. So if I run this program and I first show you how it's going to work. So let's say I am departing at 11th hour and I'll arrive at 14th, and then maybe the passenger count is 30. See, it says the cost of 3 tickets has been waived, and it will show you the total, and then it asks you to if you want to repeat or not. So let's say I do not want to repeat, and then it just shows me the table. Okay, and if you look at it at 11th hour and at 14th hour, for 11th and 14th hour I bought 30 tickets. If you look at this, the count would have been reduced. So let's look at the 11th hour. See, it says 480 minus 30 is 450, and similarly for the 14th hour it is also 450. So it is working perfectly. Alright, so as I showed you in the notes, first of all you have to take input of the departing hour, and once you've done that, okay, this is a Python check for checking if the value is not in the array. So if it is not, you keep on asking for the input again and again. Alright, so first of all you have to get input for the departing hour, and you have to check if it is actually in the array. So for the Pythonic way of doing that is you just say for value not in the array. So going times is my array holding the going hours of the train, and if you want to write this in pseudocode, it will be something like this. So you'll have to use the repeat until. Okay, so you say repeat the whole code until your going input is equal to, let's say, what are the R's, 9, or going input is equal to 11, or going input is equal to 13, or going input is equal to 15. Alright, and then inside you'll put the input code for the pseudocode. Simple. You can do the same thing for Python as well. Okay, so you can say while going input is not equal to 10, or going input is not equal to 11, so on and so forth. But this is a more let's say programmatic way of solving it. Now once you've taken input, an appropriate input for the departing R, like we did here, you have to save the index for which departing R the user chose. Okay, now how do we do that? We do a simple linear search. So let's say the user entered the choice, let's say user entered 12. So now you have to run a for loop, and you have to compare each index of your array with the inputted value. So let's say the value inputted was 15. Now you have to find the index of 15 in your array. So what it does is, it for index, in place of index you'll initially get 1. So what is at going times 0th index? It's actually 9. And what was in going input? We are assuming it was, let's say, 15. So is 9 equal to 15? No. Then this becomes 1 in the next iteration, and next time it's 11. Is 11 equal to 15? No. Then we have 13. Is 13 equal to 15? No. And then we have 3. Is 15 equal to 15? Yes. You need to make sure and remember that the index in programming language such as Python starts from a 0. Okay, so this is 0, 1, 2, and then the last index 3. Okay, so since the check becomes true, instead of so in our index we had 3, right? So 3 would actually go into arrival start. Now why are we doing this? We want to keep track of the index. Since we know that the user selected 15, and now we know that 15 is at the third index of our array, if we access the ticket count of the third index, that would mean 480, which corresponds to the ticket count of the 15th R train. And similarly, if we access the third index of the money array, so this means the total money earned by the 15th R train. That is why it's so important that you keep track, or you remember this index that the user has inputted, okay, corresponding to the value that you found. So reverting the code goes back to index. Okay, similarly for arriving R's, we have to do the same thing. And okay, here is a small change that you need to make here. We discussed that the departing R only can be alright, so you need to be a bit careful here. The arriving R's can only be after the option that you selected for the departing R. Okay, so let's say if I selected 11 here, then the arriving R's after that would be 12, 14, 16. You must not show the arriving time before the R you selected, right? Because the train is supposed to arrive afterwards. How do we do that? It's pretty simple. You just, instead of printing the whole array, you are going to start it from the index of your arrival start. Okay, so you save the index from where you found the arrival time, right? And then you're going to start printing your elements from the returning times from this index. So we said that we are going to leave at the 15th R, and 15th R is the third index. So you are going to print the value from returning times at the third index and further. So what is at the third index of returning times? It's only 16, nothing else. And that is exactly what is going to happen here. Okay, so instead of printing from 0, you are going to print from the arrival start index. This is the index that we found, which corresponds to the value of the R that the user entered. Alright, and then you ask the user to enter the arrival R from between that. So if I show you this, see, it only shows you 16, and then it says enter your arrival R. So you have to enter only this. Again, to make sure that the user enters the right arrival hour, you have to put a while loop. On pseudocode it will be a repeat until, where you'll check if the returning time is equal to whatever it we have. What do we have? Okay, we have 10, 12, 14 or 16, right? By the way, it says arriving here, I'm saying returning, it means the same thing. Please don't get confused, okay? So once you have entered the value for the returning hour, we again have to keep track of its index. How do we do that? I literally just use the same code, except I change the name of the array from the going times to the returning times. So let's say this time the user entered 12th. He or she wants to leave at the 12th hour, okay? So if the return input you entered is 12, now we again run a linear search. So what is at the 0th? Again we use a for loop that runs from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So what is at the 0th index of your return times? It is 10. Is 10 equal to 12? No. You go to the next index. What is at the first index? It's 12. Is 12 equal to 12? Yes. Then we save 12 in the index in the return start. So the index is 1 and return start now saves 1. Okay, this means that the index of the 12th hour is actually 1 in our array. Alright, so far what we have done is we took the input, we found the relevant indices for the arriving hour and departing hour. Now we have to get input of the total passenger count on the tickets that they have to buy. So again we have to get input as an integer, and then you have to put a check. While the passenger count is less than 1 or greater than 80, this is the error, right? So you have to keep on getting the input until it is within this range, the range of 1 to 80. And if it does not happen, you keep on repeating it. So if I, let's say, input 99, it does not allow me. If I input -5, 58, it does not allow me. Okay, it's working fine. Okay, this is a very important check. This is the point that I discussed in the notes, which said that you must check the availability. So let's say let's enter a proper value 50. Okay, it's going to work. So let's do a larger input. Alright, if you look at this, when I'm arriving at the 16th hour and departing at 15th hour, you can clearly see that the tickets available at 15th hour are 30, and if even I try to buy 32 tickets, it says me there are only 30 tickets available. You need to enter an appropriate passenger count, even though in the arriving train you have 190, but you need to make sure that total number of equal number of tickets are available in both journeys. Okay, so how do we ensure that? This I've done by again putting a while loop and a check that makes sure that the current passenger count is actually within the bounds. So what I'm doing is, since I saved the arrival start and the return start, this is the indices, these are the indices that correspond to the value entered in terms of the arriving hour and departing hour. Okay, so this is that index and this is the other index for the return. So I'm looking that, let's say if the user has entered 66 tickets, then are the 66 tickets even available in our case? So for departing, let's say I entered 15. Okay, we assume 15. So for sake of simplicity, let's say that there are only 80 tickets available at the moment, or even let's make it smaller, let's make it 50, and the user entered 80. So now the check should work, right? Because we do not have this many tickets available. The user wants to buy 80 tickets, but only 15 are available. So this is what the check is doing. It is checking the ticket count at the specific index for the going time and also for the returning time. This is exactly what I'm doing, and you can look at it. Okay, so GN ticket count for arrival start, or the passenger count if it's greater than the return ticket for the return start index. So we have two indices, one for the returning journey and one for the going journey, and we have two arrays so far in this check. the one that is the ticket count for the going array and one that is the ticket count for the returning array, whatever index the user whatever are the user entered. Alright, in the next part you have to now update the ticket counts. That is exactly what happens here. So every time you buy certain amount of tickets, then you are supposed to subtract that many tickets from the tickets available for that train or on the specific hour. How do we do that? Again, we have the index available of the going train and the returning train, so you just use that index and then you subtract the passenger count or the tickets bought from the total one. Okay, so we have what is GN ticket count. If you go above, GN ticket count is this array which is initially all set to 480s. Okay, it means that a single ticket has not been sold yet. So I go and I access that value and then I subtract the number of tickets that the user currently bought, and this will give us remaining tickets, and that I put it in the same index. So let's say the user bought 80 tickets for the 15th hour. So what is 480 minus 80? It becomes 400. So you have to update the index as well, right? And that is exactly what I did. So going to the same index, so I go to the same index and I subtract the passenger count and then I put it back on the current index that I'm on the arrival start. And similarly for the return, I do the same thing. So let's say I'm returning at the 16th hour and we have 640 tickets available, and if the user buys 40 tickets, you'll be left with 600 tickets. So you need to put the 600 back on the same index, and this is what I've done. So I get the value from the same index, I subtract the number of tickets bought, and then I update the same index as we did above. Alright, then this is the discount part. I've already given you the formula for this. You need to find the count by dividing it by 10. This would give you the total number of people which will go for free, right? So if you have 85 people, 85 is not allowed, let's say 65 people, then if you divide by 10 you get 6 people, so you'll give 6 people free tickets. And the formula I've already discussed this, I'm not going to discuss it here again. And when you print the total two-way journey price, you obviously multiply it by 2, because two-way means going uphill and downhill. So this is the price for that. And alright, this check is also very important. The passenger count should be greater than or equal to 10, because otherwise we do not have the qualification for a group. That's what the pre-release material says. There must be at least 10 people. So if there are not 10 people, if there are less than 10 people, no discount is to be given. And finally, once the discount has been calculated for, you need to update the relevant array and the relevant index for the total money that has been earned by the train conductor or whosoever. How do we do that? So the journey price, whatever the journey price was found, you need to again go to the relevant index and then update the money array for that. So if we go at the GN money array and go at the arrival start index, so arrival start index was saving 0, 1, 2, 3, the index of 15. So the third index, we go to the third index of GN money. So let's say only one person went in this journey. So 25 plus 25 gets you $50. So this will put 50 here. Next time, let's say 2 people went. So 2 people would qualify to 100. Now what is 100 plus 50? It is 150. So this will work this way. It will keep on totaling them, right? So if you look at this again, the value on the right side is also the value on the left side. You first access the value, then you add the price, and then you update the same index. So this is totaling. This is exactly how the totaling happens in programming or in pseudocode. And similarly for the return journey, you do the same. You just change the array names and the index variable. And after that, you just have to ask the user if they want to continue or not. And then you end, right? So if the user does not want to continue, if the value is not equal to 0, sorry, is not equal to 1, the while loop ends, and then you'll be printed the whole remaining statistics. So let's look at this. only 30 tickets are available. I get the 30 tickets and I don't want to continue, and it prints me the statistics for the screen from the task 1. Okay, so these are the tickets remaining for all of the trains. So this was your task 2. Let's clear the screen, and now let's head over to task 3. So task 3 is a bit technical, but I'll make sure that I simplify it for you. In the task 3, you have to actually print the individual journey statistics. If you read it here, the question says that you have to display the number of passengers that traveled on each journey and the total money taken for each journey. And then you also have to print the total number of passengers and total amount of money for the day. So you have to print the total information, and you also have to print the individual information of the trains. And then also you have to display the train journey with the most passengers that day. So this is a 3-in-1 problem. Okay. So first of all, how do you get the number of tickets sold by the train? Well, if you look at it, first of all, you have to find the leftover tickets. If you in task 2, what we were doing, that we were showing the leftover tickets. So if I quickly run task 2, so if you look at this, it is showing you the tickets available, right? So if the tickets available are 400 and the total initial number was 480, so how many tickets have been sold? It's 80, right? So 480 minus the number of tickets available will get you the total tickets sold. That is exactly the formula that we're going to use in this case. You have to subtract 480 from the leftover tickets, or in our case the ticket array is called GN ticket count, going ticket count and returning ticket count, and then you'll get the total number of tickets sold. Similarly, the same thing has to be done for the last train, except that you have to use 640, because as we discussed, it has 2 extra coaches, so you have to subtract it from 640, and then you have to 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 find the sum of all the relevant arrays for the total earnings. How do we do that? Again, the formula is simple, just like I told you before. The totaling is always done this way. You have some variable on the left, and that variable also exists on the right, and then you have some array or value, some constant value, any values that you have on mind, and then you add them together. So this will keep on updating the values. So let's say the total is initially 0 and this value was 5, so 5 plus 0 becomes 5, so the new value in total is 5. Next time the value on the array index that you got is 10. So what was the previous value of total? It was 5, so 10 plus 5 becomes 15, so this becomes 15, so this becomes 15. Okay, so on and so forth. This is how it has to be done. So you need to constantly update the relevant arrays for the total earnings. Alright. And for the last part, find and display the train journey with the most passengers that day. This is a bit tricky. So what you have to do, I am assuming that we have 2 separate arrays. This could happen that in the exam they might tell you that it's a single array. That would make the whole thing much simpler, but the logic remains the same. So we have the going train array, and then we have the returning train array, both with their ticket counts. This is the array I'm talking about, GN ticket count and RT ticket count. So they'll have some values at the end of the program, right? Now to find the maximum train journey with maximum tickets that have been sold for task 3. So if I run the task 3 here, so let's say I go to 13, 16, 50, sorry, it should be 16. Alright, so it says the train with maximum passengers was of the R16, and that is indeed true, right? Because 90 sold the most tickets. How do we get to that? Now in theory what you have to do is, since you have two separate arrays, you need to find the maximum from each array. So how do you find the maximum of the array? I'll get to that shortly, but first let's understand its algorithm. Alright, so you'll assume that the max value is at the 0th index of your array. This is a convention, okay? It gives us the right frame of reference. So initially, let's assume that 80 is the largest element in our array of ticket count for the going trains. So we saved 80. Then we go on to the next index. We go to index 1. Is the value at index 1 greater than 80? Yes. Then it becomes the new maximum value. So max 1 becomes 100. Okay. Now then we again compare it with the next value. Is 100 greater? Is 70 greater than 100? No. Is 30 greater than 100? No. So this becomes our max 1. Similarly, for the returning array, we assume that 90 is our maximum value since it's on the first index. Let's make it maybe 40, because 80, I've written 80 as the maximum. Okay, so we are assuming that 40 is the max. So is 40 greater than 40? No. Is 50 greater than 40? Yes. So 50 becomes the max. For now 50 is the max. Okay, then is 30 greater than 50? No. Then finally, is 80 greater than 50? Yes. So 80 becomes the max now. So max 2. Now you have two maximums from two arrays. You have to find out which one is larger. So you'll compare them. Is 100 greater than 80 or is 80 greater than 100? Now depending on which one is larger, you have to print that index at that time. So let's say since 100 is larger, now what is the index of 100? It is first index, right? And this is of the going time. So what is the, so since we have 0, 1, 2, 3, these are the indices, right? And we found that the highest tickets were sold by the first index. Now which train corresponds to the first index in going times? This is the 11th hour train. So we'll print that the train that traveled at the 11th hour has the highest amount of passengers. Alright, and this is exactly what we're going to do. So first of all, we have to subtract 480 from all the ticket counts, right? And that is what we discussed before. I run a for loop for the whole array, so it will get every index and then it subtracts 480 from the ticket counts. So if the ticket counts are 80, 100, so on and so forth, whatever values, it will subtract 480 from them, 480 from them. So these are the tickets that are available. Okay, so if you subtract the total count from them, you'll get the leftovers, right? So these are the total number of tickets that we have sold. These are the leftover ones, and we repeat that for the returning train count as well. So we go through each index from 0, 1, 2, right? I'll explain why do we have this separately. So again, if the values are, let's say maybe some random values, 80, 10, alright, let me show you how it's going to work. So if we look at this, the total tickets available at 9th hour were 480, and then I bought 40 tickets, right? So I'm going to subtract this 40 from 480. Alright, if we look at this code, here we have to find the individual journeys, okay? So what I'm doing is, since I have the total count equal to 480, and this shows you the remaining tickets, right? So if you subtract total with remaining, you'll get the total tickets that actually were sold. And that is what's happening here. So if I have entered, let's say, the 10th hour, and I bought 80 tickets, so the 10th hour is now showing 400, right? 400. So if you subtract 480 from 400, you'll obviously get 80 back. So this is exactly what I'm doing for the going tickets and for the returning tickets as well. Now this loop is running till third, which basically runs from 0, 1, 2 index, because we're running it 3 times. And why do I have this separately? Because this does not have 480 number of passengers. Since we discussed that in the pre-release material, the last train is supposed to have more passengers than the rest, and it has 640, not 480, so I have to do it separately. So I'll go to the third index of my ticket count. So what is the third index of my ticket count? You look at this, there is 0, 1, 2, 3, so this is 640. So you have to subtract it separately, whatever the ticket count at the third index was. And then I just print the individual statistics on the screen. And if you look at this, this is how it's printing. So it shows journey, then tickets sold, 40, 0, 0, 50, 0, 90. Okay, it shows them accurately. And now we have to show the total day statistics. So we have done the individual, now we have to show the total day statistics. How to do that? Again, I told you before that we need to sum, and I showed you that above as well. This is how you're supposed to sum whatever the value is. So you have either a constant or you have an index of an array, so however you do it. Now in this case we have to find the total number of passengers that are going, and also the total number of passengers who are returning, right? So what you need to do is we have 9, then we have 11, then we have 13 and 15. These are the going ones, so you just add them together. 40 plus 0 plus 50 plus 0, right? And whatever the input is, output is, you need to store that, or you just simply add them together. But because they are in 2 separate arrays, you need to total them separately. How to do that? Again, you run a for loop that runs for 4 times, 0, 1, 2 and 3 index, and every time you're getting its value and you're adding it into 2 variables. One is arrival passengers and the other is returning passengers. So the arriving passengers is equal to initially 0 and returning is also equal to 0, so they are both equal to 0, and you get the first value from the index. This is 40, so you replace this with 40. So 40 plus 0 becomes 40. So your array passengers are so far 40, the passengers on the going train. So 9, and then similarly we do it the same for the returning ticket count. So the returning starts from 10. It's 0, so 0 plus 0 is obviously 0. Then you have 11, 11 is 0, 12 is 0. Okay, 13 is the next value in our going train. So it's 50, right? So the value becomes 50. And what was the previous total? It was 40. So 50 plus 40 becomes equal to 90. And that's how it's going to keep on happening over and over again. So this is exactly how your totals for passengers returning and arriving will be updated. And similarly, you're going to do the same thing for the total money for the going trains and the returning trains. You're just going to add each index from each array into a certain variable. Okay, same logic, literally the same logic. Alright, so we are done with the part. Now let's go on and finish our task 3, which says now we have to find and display the train journey with most passengers on a certain day. Now to do that, we need to first go through its theory, and the theory is pretty simple. I already explained this in the previous part. So we have 2 arrays, one for the ticket count of the outgoing train and one for the arriving train, and we have to find which train had the maximum ticket sold count, and then we have to return the time for that journey. Now how do we do that? If you look at it, you have 2 separate arrays, one for the going and one for the returning ticket count. Okay, so this array is corresponding to this thing. Now I'll just solve an example for you to understand how maximum actually works. Maximum and minimum finding is actually a pretty common question in the O-level computer science exam. So I'll walk you through it. Okay, so you have 2 arrays, you have to find the maximum. Now look at one thing here. You have to find the train journey with most passengers that day, and I am assuming that our data is in 2 separate arrays. It could be possible that in the exam they say that you can assume that all the data is in one array. You just have to find the maximum. So in that case, you just have to readjust this logic a bit. But other than that, as the original question says, I'm going to follow the logic here. So you have two arrays. How do you find the maximum of the first array, and then you have to find the maximum of the second array? Okay, so max 1. So we start always assuming that our maximum value is at the index 0. That is just a convention that we follow. Okay, this is so that we have a proper frame of reference for finding the maximum and minimum values. So 0th index, we're assuming the maximum is at, and that is exactly what I do in the code. I assume that at the 0th index it holds the maximum value of going and returning, and these are the indices that we are going to use, because we need to remember the variables. We need to memorize the index exactly, and we also need to memorize the exact value at that index of the tickets. And similarly for max 2, I'm going to assume the max is at the 0th index, which is the value is 40. Okay, we begin. So we see and we compare if there is a value that is greater than maximum, and then accordingly we update the max 1 and the max index. So we go on to 80. Is 80 greater than 80? No. Next index. Is 100 greater than 80? Yes. So I update my max to 100 now, and also my so I update my max to 100 and also its index, which is 1. Okay, and then I go on to 70. Is 70 greater than my max value? No. Is 30 greater than my max value? No. So by the end of the whole linear search through this array, I know that my max 1 is 100 and it's saved at the first index. Now going on to the second array, which is the returning count array. Okay, so 40, I'm assuming max 2 is 40, index is 0. Is 40 greater than 40? No. Is 50 greater than the max 2 value? Yes. So the max value and the indices are updated. So I get 50 here and I get 1 here. So I'm done with these two indices. Then I get 80. Well, again, 80 is actually greater than the max 2 value of 50, right? So 80 is overwritten onto 50 and the index is updated to 2. And then I reach 110. Now 110 is also greater than my previous max values, right? Because it was 80. So max 2 is updated to 110 and the max 2 index is updated to 3. Now what do we have here? So I have max 1 as 100 and max 2 as 110. So it's pretty obvious that the maximum value or the higher value is of 110, the returning count of tickets. Okay, so if you go into the third index of the returning count index, this is 0, 1, 2, 3, so the 641. So whatever the value was saved here for the most tickets, for the least remaining tickets. Okay, because we are subtracting it with the total value of tickets. So we got that value and the index is 3, and through this we know that since 0, 1, 2, 3 returning time in array had the value 16 at the third index. So this way we know that a train with the most passengers or the most tickets sold was actually the train which was returning at 16th hour. Okay, so we have to that is the logic, and we have to implement this in Python now. And just what I told here, I'm doing exactly the same thing. I initialize my values to 0th index values and then my indices to 0, and I'm checking if I find any value in the going ticket count array which is greater than the maximum ticket count, which is the maximum value for the going ticket count. Then the maximum value becomes the current value, and then the max ticket index is saved as the index. So this is exactly the same thing. When I saw 50 after 40, then max 2 was updated to 50 and the max 2 index was updated to 1. So this is what happens here. This then saves 50 and this then saves 1. Okay, so every time it updates a max as soon as it finds a value in the array that is greater than the current maximum value. The same step exactly for the returning ticket count of the train. And once the for loop has ran for all the indices, I just exit the for loop. I print some headings. It says the total passenger count. It already is saved in the these two variables. Okay, I explained them above. If you go back, so here we get the actual passenger count from the returning and the arriving passengers, and then we also sum up their total values from their array. That we all of that we did in the previous step. Now how do we know that the train at which hour exactly the train sold the most tickets? Now to do that we have two maximums, right? I explained you here. So we have two maximum, we have 100 and then we have 110. So we have to compare them both. If the going maximum is greater than the returning maximum, then you have to return the going times, and if the returning maximum is greater than the going times, then you have to return the relevant returning times. Okay, so in our case the returning ticket count is greater and the max index is actually at 3, so we easily know that it was at the 16th hour. Now let's assume that the maximum tickets for the going train was actually 200. So since now 200 is greater than 110, we can, and assuming that 200 was saved at first index, so we clearly know that if you look at this, so this is the first 0th index, this is the first index, then the going time train was at the 11th hour, which had the most ticket count. Okay, so I'm putting a check here. If the going ticket count with this index, wherever the maximum index is saved, is actually greater than the maximum value at the maximum index saved. So what I'm doing exactly is I'm checking if this value is actually greater than this value by using the indices, so I can directly access the array values. Then the train with the maximum passengers was, okay, now I'm assuming that the going ticket count was actually greater, so obviously I'm then going to access the index from the going times array, right? And what the going times array is, it's simply 9, 11, 13, 15. And then I'm putting another check. If the value is lesser than, or or you can say that if the returning ticket count at a certain hour is actually greater than the going ticket count, again the maximum values, then it obviously means that the train which I'm returning, we have to use its specific hour. Okay, and how do we get the hour? We get that from the index that is saved above. These index 1 and index 3, it is just saving the index of where average or maximum value is, which directly corresponds to the hour of the train. And this was the whole application of Python, and also the logic that we came with using 3 arrays for the for solving this pre-release material. Alright, then this was the whole video. We are done with it. This was the whole pre-release material. I hope you understood everything. If you did not understand anything, please feel free to write it in the comments and I'll get back to you at earliest. And thank you very much for watching. Good luck with the exams. I hope you get an amazing grade. Thank you very much. Bye bye.